Ignition sequence starts. 6, 5, 4, 3, 2, 1, 0. Liftoff. We have a liftoff.
Hey everybody, this is the Digital Asset Investor. It is Friday, and the cleaning people are headed to the house. And my wife did tell me, and I've never understood this, that I was supposed to clean up before they come. If I'm going to pay somebody to clean up, I want to do the opposite of cleaning up. I want to throw clothes on the floor and do, not really that, but I don't want to lift a finger. If I'm about to pay somebody money to clean my house, I just want to stand back. Never understood that. This is day 100 years ago, marked the end of Germany's Weimar hyperinflation. 1 trillion paper marks were exchanged for 1 Rentenmark. Bitcoin fixes this? Well, if we didn't know that Homeland Security had met with the 4 Satoshis, I might agree with this last statement. I do agree with the gold. I do agree with gold being a solution. This is an important day to highlight the following. 71% of investment advisors hold 0 to 1% of gold in their portfolios today. Why do you think that is? The financial advisors, all of them are, they're literally given incentives to put people in other things that are more Wall Street oriented. Gold is like almost like a taboo. I cannot recall a time in history when the metal was as underallocated as it is currently. Additionally, keep in mind that in 1980, gold constituted 75% of global central bank assets, whereas now it accounts for less than 20%. These massive pools of capital have just started to shift significantly toward the metal, presenting one of the most compelling opportunities to invest in gold to date. Guess what the Digital Asset Investor did this morning? I called that number, 952-929-7006. I called my sponsor, Miles Franklin. I even gave him code DAI Gold, which you should too. You got to call them to get the best price. Call them or email them to get the best price. I called them because I am ordering some gold today myself. The link's in the top of the description, but all you need is DAI Gold, that phone number, or that email address. All right, Ray Dalio, he was one of the guys that was at the China meeting in San Francisco. Now, just by virtue of you being at that meeting, it does not mean that you're a bad guy, okay? I don't think he's a bad guy. I think he's a really smart guy, so listen to what he says.
What did you see happening at that dinner?
I think he's a bad guy.
I'll tell you about the dinner just in a second. I think I just want to emphasize that, I'm a markets guy trying to think about the world ahead, and there are 5 main forces that are at work, and they're interrelated. And that is the debt, money, economic force, the internal conflicts that we're having, particularly the populism of the left and right, the geopolitical that we're seeing, most importantly, between the United States and China. Then, of course, there's climate and its cost.
Is there?
And number 5 is technology. And so I think we have to see that all interacting. The dinner was mostly a gathering of old friends at a moment where there was stepping back of the risks of war. I was there last in March.
You mean prevent World War III?
And at that time, there was a very clear risk of a military war. And I think that that really concerned both sides, and there was a stepping back. I think that dinner had to do with relationships over a long period of time. In my case, I started going there 39 years ago. They didn't have any money. I didn't go for money. I went for the relationship. I curiosity at first. Then over a period of time, my son, when he was 11, went to a Chinese school because it was interesting. We evolved and we developed good relationships. Over that time, others did. A lot of people had friendships with people who they were working together.
Let me translate. He knows that there's a lot of guys that are bought and paid for by them. And he's telling you he's not one of them.
Help to develop relations, to help the economy and so on. So it was sort of a gathering of Chinese and Americans who knew each other, and there was an element of warmth and an element of relief that there was a stepping back from the bad risks of war. Right. Nobody wants war, right?
All right. I'm getting to where I like this guy more and more. I hope he does not get totally co-opted by the Bitcoin maxis, but it looks like they're trying.
This new crypto framework is out. I got to ask you, if you become president of the United States, what changes from a crypto perspective?
I think what changes is that regulation by enforcement ends. What does that mean? That the rules are delineated clearly in advance, rather than you having to wait for an enforcement action for the SEC to figure out whether or not a given coin was a security or not, that Gary Gensler refuses to say today, for example, about Ethereum. What also changes is that any unconstitutional regulation, not just as it affects crypto, this is part of a broader administrative state reform for me, but any regulation that Congress did not expressly give an agency the power to pass is null and void. It turns out that applies to most regulations governing the crypto industry. And I put these into three categories for the areas of reform that I've laid out. One is the freedom to code. It's my view that code is speech. And while it's perfectly appropriate for the government to go after bad actors, if you take the Tornado Cash example, going upstream for the actual developers of the code, that's wrong. You got to draw the distinction between the code itself, which is protected, versus people who misuse it to steal. That's something that's not happening today. That's freedom of speech is principle number one. It's the freedom to code. Principle number two is financial self-reliance. I'll give you the punchline here. There's a lot that's behind it. I mean, the AML statutes, the know your customer stuff, a lot of this, the Bank Secrecy Act has been weaponized. But the punchline is self-hosted wallets should not be touched. I mean, that's part of the Jeffersonian, Jacksonian vision of financial self-reliance and independence. We can't have a regulatory apparatus that effectively creates self-hosted wallets and prevents them from actually being able to exist. So that's point number two. And then point number three is just the freedom to innovate. And I say this as somebody who comes from multiple different regulated industries in the past. The wet blanket on American innovation isn't even Congress. It's the regulatory state that's making up its own rules, regardless of the laws that actually exist in this country. And so we'll rescind all of those unconstitutional federal regulations. We'll downsize the federal employee headcount by 75%, which I think is a good thing. A lot of these toxic regulation and enforcement action come from the fact that if you have a bunch of people showing up to work who shouldn't have had that job in the first place, they find things to do. We'll put an end to that. And the good news about all of this is these are things I can get done as the U.S. president without asking Congress for permission or for forgiveness, because this relates to the executive branch.
I like this part right here. I will ensure that innovative sectors from crypto to energy to drug discovery are liberated from the shackles of the unconstitutional shadow government. Remember Ethereum had a shadow government? I believe that this is really the core problem of the United States. I don't know what Greg Crypto's doing here. He comes out of nowhere with this XRP macro go-go. On the macro level, the go-go level is still our portal to hit our preset targets. 5, 7, 10, 13, 15, 17, 22, 27. Where, just a question. I think that most people are out, most retail is out of there between 5 and 10. What are your thoughts? That's what I think. And then Molly Ellenmore, she must be in the mood to get the crypto police after her today, because she had the gall to put this out and remind everybody of the interest in the XRP fundamental, what do they call it? It's down here. Comprehensive approach to determine the fair market value of XRP. She had the gall to draw attention to the number of people globally who have been looking at their XRP valuation that they did. She and Jimmy Valley and his team. She must really be wanting to live dangerously on this Friday and draw the attention of the crypto Gestapo. They are watching. Molly, be careful out there. You're not allowed to talk about things like this. You're not allowed to say XRP. Only Robbie Mitchnick and Susan Athey are even able, only they are allowed to do an XRP valuation unless it's approved by the crypto police / Gestapo. If approved, you too could do an XRP valuation. So be careful out there, Molly. And also, look at this. Rumors suggest, this is dangerous too. You're not allowed to talk about rumors. Rumors suggest Grand Theft Auto 6 will feature cryptocurrency. Okay, now, we're about to go into the group. We don't leave one side of the aisle untouched, okay? Today, we'll touch on Tommy Tupperville here. We're also going to, apparently there's a list out there. There's people naming names, people that were on the islands, certain islands. There's also a certain country that starts with a C that has their own list, and they're checking it twice. And I don't think they need Christmas to be coming to do so. We're going to go over what that list is too. This is a video many of you have probably never ever seen. Today in the private group, you go to DAIXRP.com to check that out. I'm the digital asset investor. I'm not an investment advisor. This is for entertainment purposes only. Please subscribe, hit the like button, and tell your friends and family that nobody is off limits in DAIXRP.com. Republican, Democrat, Libertarian, whatever else, socialist, I can't say some of these words out here. All right, going off into the group.